Hello everyone and welcome back to LewisNews, your number one YouTube channel for all types of Spider-Man news. And in today's video we're going to be talking about MCU Spider-Man and John Watts coming out and talking about something in regard to Spider-Man's origin in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it's been touted many times that the MCU doesn't really have an origin for Spider-Man, and a lot of people have said over the years that the MCU movies that we've gotten so far, so the Home Trilogy, are really the origin of Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There is plenty of evidence for this. We know that Homecoming and Far From Home deal with him becoming his own hero, him becoming Spider-Man, obviously not Iron Boy Jr. and all that kind of stuff, him kind of growing out from being a boy into a man and having to deal with the consequence of life. And No Way Home is him having to deal with that consequence, obviously Aunt May's death, Aunt May giving him the responsibility speech. Metaphorically and symbolically, it all really does line up. Like, it is kind of his origin. Well, John Watts has actually come out and confirmed this now, saying that, yes, the first trilogy in the MCU is Spider-Man's origin story in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, this created a lot of controversy within, the Spider-Man fandom, because a lot of people were saying this wasn't intentional, this was accidental, and John Watts is only saying this to cover up the tracks of the MCU and to cover up the tracks of the creative team behind the stories, because realistically, 3 movies should not be the origin story of Spider-Man. That is 3 wasted films on Spider-Man as a character post his origin story. Now, I do understand what John Watts is saying, because Spider-Man in relation to Tony Stark, for example, and his introduction in the MCU, obviously it was very hard to kind of incorporate Spider-Man very late into the universe, and kind of tying Spider-Man's character into Tony Stark's story was obviously something that they really wanted to do, and I think it just went too far, because obviously Spider-Man came in at a time where he got wrapped up in Tony's story and Tony's death, and because he was wrapped up in Tony's death, that meant that Far From Home probably and kind of had to deal with the death of Tony Stark. Like, it just wouldn't make any sense, which meant that not only Homecoming was Peter living under Tony's shadow, Far From Home, Peter was still living under Tony's shadow, and people didn't like that, which meant that subsequently Far From Home had to become a movie about Peter stepping out of the shadow of Tony Stark, realizing and coming to terms with his death, meaning that he'd had to put himself forward to basically be the big hero of the MCU post Tony Stark and post the Avengers. So, Far From Home kind of got stuck up in the middle of the story that was being told in the MCU at the time, which meant that No Way Home was really the first film that they could use to kind of explore Spider-Man past Tony Stark. But even in No Way Home, they decided to give him the responsibility speech, which subsequently obviously meant that No Way Home also became subject to a film about Spider-Man growing up and being, Spider-Man, right? So I can see where John Watts is coming from. Obviously, the MCU trilogy got caught up in the larger story of the MCU because it decided to tie Spider-Man so closely to Tony Stark. But also, then again, it does make sense with the story that they had with No Way Home and the story they had with Homecoming, and obviously Far From Home being trapped in the middle. It made sense that this is now the origin. Obviously, people don't like that, and people say that that shouldn't have been the case. But either way, that's the way it is. We know we're going to be getting a new Spider-Man trilogy. So, if anything, is it really a bad thing? Not really. Can we change it? No, we can't. But we've got a brand new Spider-Man trilogy coming very, very soon. With MCU Spider-Man 4, if you watched yesterday's video, you would know that that film was very far into pre-production before, obviously, the strikes. So once the strikes and the unions get a deal together, MCU Spider-Man 4 should be well on its way. And obviously, you're not going to want to miss news about the filming, set photos, and obviously leaks and rumors that come out about the film. So make sure you're subscribed, and make sure you hit a like on this video, because that would really help me out. Comment down below, what do you think about MCU Spider-Man 4 and MCU Spider-Man 5 and 6, and potentially the idea of exploring past the origin story? And what do you think about John Watts coming out and saying that the first trilogy for Spider-Man in the MCU was his origin story? Do you agree? Do you not agree? Should that have been the case? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like I mentioned, make sure you're subscribed, because we cover everything from the games and movies and the shows. Marvel Spider-Man 2 comes out in October, so you're not going to want to miss anything to do with that. And also all the Sonyverse movies and Beyond the Spider-Verse. We cover everything on the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care and peace.